Hi everyone, I'm Simon Tatum, an artist from Cayman who's now living in the United States. I am actually pursuing a master's degree right now at Kent State University in Kent, Ohio, and also working as a director's assistant here, specifically within their School of Arts Galleries and Collection. So the program that I'm in here is a Master of Fine Arts program. With that said, I am just going to walk you all through just some projects that I've worked on in my first year now that I'm in the candidacy year. Okay, so my current studio situation usually involves some digital work where I'm taking digital images and digital videos and using them with different projectors and light systems to come up with photographs or sort of still lives. I've been playing a lot with that recently. And then I also do some collage imagery as well, and I use different found objects to make sculpture casts, and so I'll show you that. So for the images, what I do or what I've been doing is taking hand drawings that are put on transparencies and combining those with these sort of halftone images that are cut up and combining those with vinyl and other art media to make these different collages. And then what I can also do with printmaking is I can take some of these different collages that are turned into transparencies, digital transparencies, and place them here onto my silk screen to make these sort of templates that can then be printed onto paper. This would be an example of one of those images where I take a lot of the drawing transparencies and I also take the digital transparencies and I turn them into these sort of image formats, which I can then print through the silk screen to make these sort of graphite images, and I keep on combining them together along with paintbrush and my own custom pencil marks to make these very dense collages. And so originally, for my candidacy review purposes, I was using it to make these sort of images that could be posters for this imaginary fantasy land that I was coming up with. So some other projects I'll mention are just these projects that are built around this narrative about being in travel to this sort of imaginary space, the same type of space that I made the poster for. And so again, using these sort of mix between hand drawing and digital imagery to create these sort of drawing collages that show almost like couples that are in place waiting or on an airplane waiting and heading somewhere. And then these drawings being kind of combined with a sort of script that I'm working on. Okay, another project I'd like to share are my casting works. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking figurines, these mixed media figurines. Some are made of plastic, some of ceramic, and some of glass. And I'm doing a process where I take this material here, which is silicone, and I'm placing it around the object and making copies in a different material. So I'm turning these little figurines and other objects into these plaster works and then combining them together and making new surfaces for them out of water-based media and then also clear resin. And these objects, some of their surfaces are very much inspired by the work of Bendel Hides. So for this setup here, what I have played with, and this was more of an intuitive project, or not an intuitive, more of an impulsive project, was to create this sort of alter ego that could act out or be photographed in these sort of scenes for me by using this overhead projector device that I have here. So what I do is I take one of my hand-drawn transparencies, put it on the overhead. For those of you who know how overhead works, you know that the glass table sends light through, which is then reflected through this device here and creates an image object, or an image, on the wall. So then taking that and taking an object, a found object, and placing it there. and then having a sort of relationship to the found object and what is behind it. And so then what I'll do is I'll then switch the video into this sort of monochrome aesthetic and create these sort of still life setups. And I've been playing with this a lot for sort of image and video sketches, which I've been putting together alongside these different writings that I've been producing. And it's really like creating lots of bits of a whole to start coming up with this sort of aesthetic toolkit which I can put together for a larger project which will become my thesis in the second year. Since I mentioned Bendel earlier as someone I was looking at and someone that inspired me for the cast objects, I figured that would be a good person to first mention when talking about my influences. Um, so I definitely receive influences from things like music, and I also receive a lot of influence from traveling. And when I travel, I like to go to lots of gallery and museum exhibitions and collect books, and I collect pamphlets from those exhibitions. But sort of the biggest source of inspiration for me in my work is reading, and it's also very important to me now. As I'm at university pursuing a master's degree, reading is very important for the research that I do here because it's not only making things in the studio, but it's also learning more about art history and critical writing and being able to write about my own work. That's very important. And some of the things I've reviewed recently are essays like David Foster Wallace's essay about shipping out, which talks about um, the tourist industry and the cruise ship industry. I review lots of Caribbean art, survey Caribbean art, and contemporary Caribbean art. I look at a lot of contemporary drawing surveys. Most recently, I've been looking at things like exhibitions that are covering contemporary Japanese drawing and how that has transferred into graphic design, film, and projections that then become public art. And since I have a drawing background, those are formats that really interest me and say ways that I want to take my drawing and transform it into more sculpture media. And I am also interested in curation, and I took a course last semester that was talking about ideas around contemporary curating. My influence from other artists is there's a wide range of different artists I take influences from for various reasons. And on more the local level, Bendel is definitely a person and a practice that I've admired a lot. So is the work of Davin Ebanks, of Nasaria Saku-Chalet, and of Ray Banker. The last thing I wanted to mention was just what comes next for me. So this summer I'll be working with my School of Arts gallery, and then I'll also be working on some of these projects that I've shown to you. I'll be expanding on them and also working on my writing in preparation for my candidacy review, which will start at the beginning of the next semester, so in August and September. And then beyond that, I will be preparing projects to expand on for the second year of my graduate program, which would be the thesis year. I just wanted to extend a special thanks to the Kent State School of Art for giving me a graduate assistantship while I'm studying here in Ohio, and also a big thank you to the Thompson Foundation in the Cayman Islands for their scholarship and their sponsorship while I'm studying in Ohio. And thank you to the National Gallery for reaching out to me and asking me to do this video blog. And also a special thank you to you all for listening and learning about some of the recent projects I've been working on. Please stay safe and keep well. Bye.